worried about that. You would be worried about too. And so, man, it was a double decker, and so we was on the top, and before I don't even remember really taking off. I was out. I mean, I was out. I'm going, and then the next thing I know, the lights come up and they're serving me breakfast. And I'm going, wait a minute, if this is breakfast, I missed supper. And that means after breakfast, we're landing. And sure enough, we did. Same thing happened coming back. And so I was ready to go. But it was so interesting. We got to see a lot of different things. Zimbabwe is a beautiful country. The people are really neat. There's 3 guys that helped us. They were amazing. They were just wanting to learn every aspect. One guy said he'd never been off the ground on a ladder before in his entire life. He's taller than I am, and it's just they wanted to learn so much. They never handled a battery operated screw gun, and then it took them a while. We kept saying both hands. They was wearing bits out left and right. So that's one thing he put on the list, Bobby, is more bits. And also there was a phrase that we really learned. It was really neat. And people look at you in London, they know what you're talking about. It's just mind the gap. Just keep that in mind. Mind the gap. And you'll be safe on that. It's amazing. What that means is watch your step. Watch that gap in the door, especially in the subways. It says mind the gap, mind your gap. And the food over there was fantastic. We ate at Midley's every morning for breakfast, and a couple of mornings I had the breakfast bowl, and it was a good sized bowl, and it had fried potatoes in the bottom of it, had a pile of eggs in there, had a little sauce on it, had cheese on it, had bacon bits in there, and I don't know what all in there. So I ate it, and then by the time lunch got there, I go, man, I am still full a little bit from breakfast. So I had to scale back a little bit for breakfast and just got burritos and stuff, which was still good. Orange juice was great, fresh squeezed. Man, it was great. You know how sometimes you get that orange juice and you just, after a while, you can't drink it? Man, it wasn't like that. I just kept drinking it. But it was amazing. Sometimes I just stood and watched the people that came to the restaurant. There's one place in the front room of the house where you can sit down and eat, but the front porch in the front on the outside, and it goes up around over here like that, and you can eat outside. And most people ate outside. They didn't get in a hurry. They would have a cup of coffee. They would have a meal. They would have something light, maybe a bowl of fruit or something. And they would be talking, and they would just talk, and just, you wouldn't know what they was talking about. And I got to watch a guy one day, because he had a shirt that I caught it, you know. And I said, he has been here all day long. I don't know what he was doing. But every time you saw him, he was with somebody different. One of them had a laptop, and I guess that they just conduct business or whatever. And it was just really neat. Just really neat to watch them, and then sometimes the customers would come back there where we were, and they said, "What y'all doing?" I said, "Man, you ain't gonna believe this. Hey, let me put up here there for a minute. Let me back up a minute. I embarrassed myself, which is unusual, isn't it? 2 or 3 times. It was very neat to be on a mission trip and be able to speak your own language and they understand. And so our 3 guys that were there, every once in a while I'd go, and I go, wait a minute, guys, wait a minute. I do it several times. I go, wait a minute, guys, wait a minute. I forgot I could speak. And so I said, just take this and do it. And I explained to them, and they did it. And so several times I'd done it. I would just keep pointing. I said, wait a minute, I forgot I could talk. And that's great. But there were people, they were in the restaurant, the people would come back, and they would ask, man, what are you doing? What's going on? What are you building? I said, you ain't going to believe it, but they're out of space. They need more space to dine in. And I said, they want to use it for Bible study. They want to use it for church. I said, this thing is going to be used for so much. And And they said, well, man, that's going to be great. And they would just stand back there and watch a little bit, and next thing you know, they'd be gone, and somebody else would be there. What y'all building? What y'all building? Well, there was one time I did get a scare. There was a young lady, had a laptop in her hand, and it was an older lady. They were dressed really professional, and they walk up, and as soon as that older lady opened her mouth, she was asking me questions. And I'm going, oh no, a building inspector. And I thought, I have not seen a permit anywhere. And she said, what y'all building? Where's the contractor? I need to talk to him. And just kept going. And about that time, Danny walked up and said, wonder what you want? I said, man, we in trouble. So we got, both of us got back in the conversation again and stuff. And what it was, she says she was at a church and working a daycare or something. And she said, I would love to have that at our church for our kids to be under. I go, really? And they wanted one built. And I said, well, you'll have to talk to Winston when he gets back. He is in charge of that. Well, when will he be back? I said, about 30 minutes. She said, I'll be back in 35, and I'll bring my pastor back. Around here, we think, yeah, they won't be back. Hey, 35 minutes, she was back with our pastor. And so Winston, they were talking for a long time and stuff. But it's just amazing how that went up. And everybody said, I was by here yesterday, and this was not here. I go, well, we've been here all week and doing a little long. But before we left, we had a dedication service, and sometimes you think 5-10 minutes, and I don't know how long we went. We cried and we prayed. Some just quoted scripture, and it was just amazing what God's going to do with that pavilion, as you've seen on there. I tell you what, without Bobby and Danny, we couldn't have got anything hardly put up in the air like we did. I was just a gopher. I wanted to pick up stuff and go and try to help them best I could. But let me say this. The summer trip, which is going to be their winter, so don't worry about the heat. I'm still peeling from getting burnt. Got up to 80 degrees one day, like old snake skin. But you've got your invitation already. Brother Ray's done said it. Just go. It was a marvelous time. I just can't. We drive by the road, and I said, hey, we need to get one of those watermelons. I mean, there'd be a watermelon here. People everywhere be selling watermelons. So we need to get one. We ate one. They bought two, and we ate one just right off the bat. But you know what? Poverty is still there. And we told them that we have plenty of jobs here, but nobody wants to work. They couldn't believe it. They could not believe it. They can't even find anything. And if you offer them $5 a day, they'll work all day for $5. Maybe 10, just give them whatever you want, but they'll start out at 5 and work. And we can't even get nobody for $20 an hour, $15 an hour to work an hour. So it's amazing. But it's a beautiful country. This story we told probably several times, but we had a great supper on Saturday night. Got to watch, and it was just big. I won't tell it all, but y'all can fill in the blanks. And you know, sometimes when you're going home and you're tired and you're full, and you go there, and all of a sudden deer just run out in front of you like crazy, and you're going, "Rrr, rrr." Well, we was going around a curve, and all of a sudden an elephant walks out. An elephant. He's just standing there, and Winston got a little, because he stopped, and he said, y'all watch, take pictures all you want. I'm going to watch his ears, and I'm going to watch his head. And if he starts doing something crazy, he said, this thing is going in reverse. But he was an amazing creature. And went through some national parks and just a wildebeest and rock formations. It was almost, for me, a chance of a lifetime to see a beautiful country. And everybody we talked to, as soon as they said a word, they just grinned. Say what they did. They would just grin. They would help you in any way. And we we got lost. Our professional driver we had, Danny, got us lost the first day. And we was asking people, and they was trying to help us. And finally, there was a taxi cab guy there. And so Danny talked to him, and they got him on the track. And we got there, and we got there and everything. And I was going around front, and I looked, and I go, that cab looks familiar. Then all of a sudden, that cab driver was standing there. He said, I just want to make sure y'all got here safely. He said, I just want to make sure. Sometimes you might make a wrong turn or something. And then he just walked off, and we tipped him, man. We tipped him. But it was great. And I'll let y'all finish it out. But it's good to be here, and God bless you. But you've got your invitation. Only thing you need is a bag. But make sure you take a carry-on with a few things in it, just in case your luggage gets lost. Just in case. Enough to hold out for 2 days. You'll be great. Thank y'all.
I probably have a little bit different perspective. Before I went, I had the perspective of that everybody was living in grass huts, and so when we got over there, yeah, there's still a few that are, but they're mostly living in actual houses. And yes, they're still poor, but they get their resources together and they build whatever they need to build. And it was amazing working with the local that came in to help us. We needed extra help, and they came in, and they may not have known what to do, but we just told them what they needed to do, and they helped us. And some of them were working faster than we were. We were trying to keep up with them. It was a great experience, definitely a lifetime experience. And I encourage you that if you can go, that you should go, and it'll be a good experience.
I love my shirt. I just want to thank you guys. It was quite expensive, and we know that. There was a lot of private donors. There was a lot of grace, a lot of love that went with us. We couldn't have went without this church. I'm very emotional. I'm going to try not to be emotional. This was a very emotional trip for me. I don't fly well. I fly all the time, but I'm not the best at it. Dramamine's my friend, and it lasts about 3 or 4 hours. So when you fly for 11, you either just have to keep taking them or just deal with it. So I was a little nervous, even all the way up to the night before I left. I was hesitant. I told Holly, I think I'm going to call, and maybe I shouldn't go. I shouldn't go. So we prayed about it. I slept, and I woke up the next morning, and I couldn't have been more ready than ever. And the whole time I was gone, the whole time we were there, we bonded. All of us are different. All of us have different ages and different lifestyles, but we bonded when we got on that plane, and the whole time we were there, and we lived together and ate together and worked together and sweat together and was tired together, and we prayed together. And when we came back, I feel like that we're so much closer. We're so much closer to Winston and Emmy. They are amazing. Everybody there loves them. They're doing big things. So you guys should be super proud if you have the opportunity to assist them financially or with prayers or any way. I know you've heard this, and you're probably going to hear it a few more times. It is an open invitation. If you have the opportunity, if you pray about it and you feel like that God is telling you to go, you need to go. But I kept telling myself, well, I want to serve, I want to go, but I just have to make sure that, I'm not sure if God's telling me I should go, but you know what? He's already told us we're supposed to go. Now, where we go is different, and how we serve, and the places that we may end up to serve, that's the way God's going to lead us. But there is no, God hasn't told me to go yet, because you got to go, even if it's right outside here on Main Street. So when you get that perspective, and you say, I'll do whatever. And I think that's what what changed me. So just a few things I'm gonna talk about. This is the first place we went. We flew into Victoria Falls, and let me tell you something. I'm a big believer, but when you stand there and you look at that, and you hear that, and you feel that mist on your face, and it doesn't make any sense because the water above it looks like Hickman Creek. It's very calm. It doesn't look like very much water. And you got millions of gallons of water pouring off, and every angle and every view you look at, a mile and a half we walked and looked at this, rainbows, birds. It just was like the Garden of Eden in my mind. It was amazing. We walked 83,000 steps, 41 and a half miles in 4 days. I kept it up on my tracker, and I think when we all hit that airport on the way home, we felt that 41 miles. Driving, I know Marty said something about me driving. So over there, I can drive a stick shift. Been doing it my whole life. But when you sit on this side of the car, you drive it with this hand, and then you're on this side of the road or this side, and so you don't turn wide right, you turn wide left, and yeah, it was a learning experience. And I had Miss Lisa's claws in my back a couple times. Slow down, and Bobby's like, just let him drive, and so he had my back. But we made it. We drove all over the place, and let me tell you, there is not a road in Africa that doesn't have potholes. There was one me and Bobby talked about several times. You just kind of go like this, and the car may be coming at you, or you just get on his side and pass and miss that's the way it is. It's kind of, they just wave at you. There's no, angry drivers, and you always get a wave there, but here you might get something different. But there was a pothole that we hit that I know a guy was in it in a boat, and we laughed about it. We went in and come back out, and water went all over us, and we just kept going. And so we didn't have phone service almost the whole time. Every now and then we'd hit a spot of Wi-Fi. It was hard that I'm used to talking to Holly probably way more than I should. Well, I should be working during the day, but there, no TV, no phones. You didn't see people walking around like that. You seen people walking around with, their hand. Men hold hands. It's just something they do, and it's out of sign of love. The kids running around there with bags of dirt, filling in potholes with the dirt, just looking for $1. I'm talking 3 or 4-year-old kids by themselves with shovels. And I did not meet a person there that didn't have a smile on their face. I probably went to 20 different hardware stores trying to find bits, nails. Their nails are this long and their hammers are this big. And let me tell you, we don't do this anymore. We do this. So it's a big difference. And being a builder, the lumber and the tools, and these guys have. Let me tell you, we used shovels, picks, hoes, rakes, and they all have 3-foot handles. Now there's some tall Africans, but I don't know what it is. It's something. But so every one of us had to work like this, and so there's just things we had to get used to. But nobody complained. Everybody that we met was so welcoming, and then when we mentioned that we were building something, they perked up, because any production or anything positive over there, any kind of work, it gets them excited. Every business we went into, they had 20 or 30 people that worked. You had people in every aisle, and they're willing to help you and talk to you, and they want to know your name, and you come back the next day, hey, Mr. Danny, and it's just a different world. I loved it. I'll never forget it. I'm going to talk about just me for 1 second. God has changed me through this. I have woke up every morning at 4:30 since I got there until today. I don't know what it is. My phone don't go off. I just wake up at 4:30, and I shake Holly, and I'm like, I'm still waking up at 4:30. She's like, well, thanks for telling me at 4:30, but I don't know what it is. I've been getting up. I've started new Bible studies on my own. I've been challenged with more time, and I'm using that in a way that I should have been using it for all this time. And if I don't get anything else out of it, I know that God has done that. The last day we were there, we were sitting there going, we're going to have to put something off. There was a couple other things we wanted to do. We were worried that we weren't going to finish the building, the pavers, get the furniture set up. We only had about 3 hours or so before we had to head to the airport. We had just gotten luggage that we had missed all week, so we were doing without tools that we should have had. And the last day, we got all of our stuff loaded up. We were wondering how we were going to get to the airport with all the bags, and we didn't have our trailer because the trailer we used broke down, and there was just a lot of hurdles. But that last day, it was like he knew exactly how much time we needed. We rushed, we got it done, we had time to do that, change clothes, clean up, went a little bit of shopping. We put the furniture out, and we had as long as we needed to pray and laugh and talk with, you'll probably see those pictures there, the 30 people underneath this shelter that we spent 3 days building that normally would probably take a week with the right tools. So God was, he was so at work there. And I'll say this again. Winston and Emmy are doing big things. God is using them. People know them. People love them. Their employees depend on them. They're good to them. They're making a difference in Zimbabwe. We got to meet a lot of people, and we were truly blessed. And I just want to thank you guys again. I am definitely marking it on my calendar for whenever it is this summer. I just can't wait to go, and my wife and kids are going with me, and I'm super excited. So the more the merrier. If we have to do a car wash in the parking lot to pay for it, then whatever we need to do. But thank you guys so much for helping us do that.
I'm going to be like everybody else. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to thank everyone who had a hand in letting us go to Zimbabwe. You guys may get tired of hearing us say that, but there's not enough words for me to tell you how much this trip has meant to Bobby and me and the rest of the team. I'm like Danny, I'm going to get a little emotional. I told Bobby on the way over here, I want to be able to say everything I want to say without crying, because when I start crying, I can't talk. But the love and the grace and just the amazing sacrifice that this church has given for this team has blown me away. You guys couldn't go yourselves, but you wanted us to go, and you made a way for us to go, and I can't ever thank you enough. Every trip I go on, it changes my life a little bit more every time. I know everybody says that, and if you've never been on any kind of mission trip, then you don't believe that. But if I walk outside these doors and we go on a mission trip 20 miles down the road, God impacts my life more than anybody else's. I told Bobby on the way over here, I'm always so amazed that he allows me to do anything in his kingdom. I am so unworthy, and there are so many people who are better at quoting scripture, who know the word better than I do, who I feel like are more important than I am, and they could do so much more than I can. But he allows me to go. And he blesses me more than anybody that I bless. And it's just a wonderful feeling. On this trip, I wore 2 hats. Normally on a mission trip, I'm Mr. Moss's gopher. Anything he needs, I go get, I help him. But on this trip, part of my time was spent with Emmy and the babies. Emmy is the sweetest, most caring person I have ever met in my life. She amazed me with her skills as a mother. She's in a foreign country. She has no close family near her, and she's raising 2 babies all alone. Now, she has Winston, don't get me wrong, and he has his family. But every woman sitting in here tonight knows when you have a child, the first thing you want to do is call your mom if you have a problem. Emmy is over there, and she is rocking it. These babies are fabulous. So I got to spend part of my time being a Lily for the babies. I got to rock some. I got to love on them. I got to feed them. I got to help bathe them. This was probably the highlight of my trip, was just loving on Emmy and her babies. The rest of the time, I had my little OSHA hat on over at the work site because my husband and Danny do not believe in safety first. And so I was there continually saying, no, let someone hold the ladder for you. Do not hang off of that building. You're going to get hurt. Put that up. Let me help you. And to the point that I felt like the other team members were ready for me to go home by myself. So, but we accomplished something that the people in Zimbabwe could not believe. They work at a slower pace. Their life is at a slower pace. And for us to start on an empty lot and put up a pavilion between Monday afternoon and finish it by Friday morning was something that they could not believe. We worked hard. We worked very hard. But just like Danny said, and everybody else has said so far, these people have the most wonderful outlook on life. They are smiling. They are happy. They want to work. They want to earn money. They don't want you to give them anything. This is not like other third world countries that you hear about where they have people just begging in the streets. And these people, we could hire them to do anything we needed to do for $2 or $3. We had Fulton, Musa, and Emmanuel, the 3 young men. They showed up every day with a smile on their face. It didn't matter what we asked them to do. If they didn't know how to do it, they just said, "Can you teach me?" And they wanted to know everything about America. They wanted to know what we did in our spare time. They wanted to know what where we lived looked like. We talked about the fact that we can't get a whole generation of people to work, no matter how much you offer to pay them. They're working for $5 a day, and we're telling them people are offering $15 to $20 an hour, and you can't get them to come into work. And they could not wrap their minds around that. But they quickly became very, very good friends of ours. And I told them when we left that it was amazing that we had all of these friends and family in Zimbabwe, and we just never met them yet. So, yes, Bobby and I will be going back on the next trip, and probably the next trip, and any trip after that. This is something that is very close to our heart. We're so thankful that we're able to go and do these things. There's so much work to be done. Everybody that crossed our paths that week was in the ministry in some way. There were missionaries, there were pastors, there were church leaders, there were church planners, there were preachers, there were just people who just go to church with Winston and Emmy. We were amazed at the amount of people who came to talk to us. And they had so many questions, and I think there's an enormous potential for more work to be done there, either in the ministry where we go and do block parties for children or VBS for children, or any kind of construction, or there's just so much potential for that. And we've learned in the past that anytime you're doing something for the Lord, He's going to put the right people in front of you, and you're going to make a difference in their life. You might not think you're saying the right word. I never think I'm saying the right words. I always think I'm messing something up. But he's the one directing my steps, and I have to trust in him. I brought some little stuff that we brought home. The little animals over here with the beads. Ladies make those and sell them, and that's how they support themselves and their children. Emmy had given me some earrings, and I forgot to bring those, but they take what we would consider trash and make earrings and sell them. They make these little decorations to hang on the walls, but they don't have industry in Zimbabwe or in Bulawayo like we think of. They don't have factory jobs. They don't have office jobs. The unemployment rate is skyrocketing. Inflation is skyrocketing. And they're willing to do anything to earn money to support their children and to take care of themselves. So we brought a few things home. I've got some $50 bills there from Bulawayo, and they're worth about 6 cents in American dollars. So that's the type of inflation they've got going on over there, and it's just almost impossible for them to live. So I again thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Bobby Moss and I never thought we would set foot on the continent of Africa. That was not ever on our bucket list. It was not something that we thought about. And when Brother Ray approached us a year and a half ago, he just asked, are y'all willing to go? And before I could even think about an answer, yes came out of my mouth. And I know Bobby's like, you need to calm it down and rein it in a little bit. We need to talk about this. But it just felt so right for me to say yes. And now I know why. It was a trip that I'll never forget. Thank you.
My turn. Has anybody in here ever wondered what a 250-pound peacock looked like? Here I am. This is all Miss Emmy's idea. But seriously, I do want to say thank you for your support, your financial support, your prayers. There's a lot going on in Zimbabwe right now. When you find people that are hurting and they're struggling, you'll always find God somewhere close by. And He's at work in that community, in that country. Winston and Emmy have a vision. Winston's vision is for Zimbabwe to become a country that sends missionaries out, not bringing missionaries in. And they're working hard. They're very diligent in their work. They're trying to train pastors. They're going into the neighborhoods. They're starting churches, even no matter how small. They're getting something started. We had the pleasure of meeting a few missionaries while we were there that just came by, and most of them were from the southeast United States. Met a young lady from Chattanooga. We were working one day, and I hear someone talking, and all of a sudden it's this beautiful voice that has no accent. And I'm thinking, who is this? So I ran around the end of a fence, and there's this young lady, and I didn't know her, never seen her, and I just run up and I said, my God, say something, say something. She said, well, what do you want me to say? I said, thank you, Lord. She was from Chattanooga, and she is a full-time missionary there. Her and her husband are going through the paperwork. They're starting an orphanage. There's a lot of orphanages in Bulawayo, evidently in Zimbabwe as a whole. And the orphanages, you age out really early. They're there's 10, 12-year-old kids going to the street to try to figure out how to make a living. So they came, God gave them the vision of starting an orphanage that brings you in at 12 or 13, gives you a Bible education, some trades, teach you some things to have a way to earn a living. And that's their vision. That was their part. Met a young man, not a young man, he was, to me, everybody's a young man now. But he was probably in his 40s. He spends 6 months of his year every year there, going into the remote areas, partnering up with churches and drilling water wells for communities that don't have a good water supply. He drills the well, installs the pumps. When they get everything up and running, he has a dedication service. He said, I've not kept up with how many wells I've drilled or how deep they are, but he said, I can tell you to date, we've had 228 people accept Christ at our dedication services. And he said, that's the only number I'm concerned with. We had an opportunity to go into a strange place under dire circumstances somewhat. Everything made it to Bulawayo, the tools. Everybody else got their luggage. Lisa and I got there with no clothes and no idea if we'd ever see them again. Winston informed me in the lobby of the airport, you're in trouble. I said, why? And he said, they don't have clothes your size in Zimbabwe. I got offended a little bit, and then I realized he wasn't laughing. I said, really? He said, oh, yeah. He said, no, Miss Lisa said, we can find her clothes anywhere. You don't stand a chance of finding something your size in this town. So, all right. God's still with me. I had 2 pair of shorts in a carry-on bag and a T-shirt. We washed clothes every night. And got our luggage Thursday night before we left Friday morning to come home, Friday evening to come home. So I did get to change clothes before we left. But seriously, without your help, this wouldn't have happened. God's doing a lot of work in Zimbabwe. He's got a plan. There's Zimbabwe is under a tyrant, for lack of a better word, as a president. He's got their country spiraling downhill economically, socially. And the only thing the people have figured out that he's not going to be any help. So they're learning that God is going to be the only thing that can save our country. Inflation rate was a little over 200% when we were there. $1 American would get you 800 of theirs. The day we landed, we could get $800 for $1 American. The day we left, it was at $1,250. The economy's wrecked. Unemployment is skyrocketing. And they needed some help. We showed up. We befriended them. We loved on them. We loved on Winston and Emmy. And it changes you. The last morning we were there, Brother Marty and I were taking some luggage out and putting it in the car, and he said, this is the part I always hate about a mission trip. I said, yeah, me too. Because invariably during that week, part of your heart goes out to the people. And when you leave that part of your heart there. And he said, I've never liked the last day of a mission trip. He said, I always think that there was more I could have done, more I should have said. So that's why we're planning a return trip. The next trip probably have a little construction in it. The next trip is going to be a whole lot of community outreach. Going to involve some youth activities. Emmy's got a team together, and they're building a plan. So we're going to need some help. So if you love kids, you love people in general, there's a spot for you. Now, do I think everybody in here is cut out for foreign missions? No. No. May not even be cut out for domestic missions. But everybody sitting in this room has a mission field. If that field is just your backyard, the street you live on, your telephone, call people and tell them you're praying for them, encourage them, write them a letter, write them a note. Nobody is exempt from the Great Commission. Nobody. Now, when I'm on a mission trip, whether it's domestic or foreign, that's where I feel my closest connection with my Maker. It's like He's got me right where I need to be. For you, that may not be a foreign mission, but there's some place. There's some new people here that we've welcomed into church, and you may be visiting. There's, Brother Ray, 29 or 30 ministries within this church. There's a lot going on in this church. I didn't realize that till we had our last mission fair. This church has a lot going on. And they need a lot of help doing something. So I want to take just a moment. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. Somebody on the team will answer them. But I want to encourage you to find your spot. Find your spot. And wherever that spot is, you'll get blessed right there.